This is Structura. It's a folder structure builder for both Windows and Mac, and here is how it works. So we're currently running Structura version 1.5.1, and you can kind of see the basis of the app. We've got our folder structure loaded in up here on the left, and over here on the right we've got a bunch of saved structures. So it's as simple as you would expect it to be. You can create structures and then save them to your list. But running over the main functions of Structura from basically top to bottom. At the very top here, we've got our basic functions, which is the browse function, so that we can set the folder that our folder structure is going to be created inside of. So if we press browse, we can now set a folder. For now, I'm just going to leave this as the default folder I've got selected here. And as far as it goes when it comes to creating your structures, you have two options for building structures. So if I just clear this list here, so if you press clear, this will just clear everything. Now there's nothing there. The first option you have for creating structures is just to manually do it from this window. So you can type in a name for a structure. We're going to call this main and press add. Now if I want to add something inside of that folder, I then select that folder, give it a name, and press add. And it works the same for basically anything. If I want to add something inside of here, just select it, give it a name, and press add. Similarly, of course, you would expect the other function to do exactly what it says it will do, and that's to simply delete a folder from your structure. But if we right-click these folders in our structure, we have some more options available. So you can see here, when we right-click this, we not only have the options to rename and delete folders, which is what you would expect, but we also have the option to set icons on our folders. So if we press change icon, this is now going to load up the icon window. And the icon window inside of Structura is very powerful, so use it at your own discretion. But to start from top to bottom, if you press folder, this will allow you to select a folder, and then it will get all of the icons from that folder. So for example, I'm going to select this icons folder in my documents here, press select folder, and now it's got literally every icon from inside of that folder. And you can see when it does this, it loads this into our custom icons. And these are separated from the system icons that we have by default just below them. But let's say you've loaded in a bunch of icons from a folder and you don't want half of them. You just right click, remove the icon, press remove, and it's gone. Similarly, the file button does the same thing, but it's just there for selecting single files. And the other option you can see here is pretty much the obvious one. You can favorite system icons. So if you really like some system icons from here and you don't want to go through this very long list again, just right click, press add to favorites, and now it gets added to your favorites up at the top here. This is just there to make your life easier and make everything a lot quicker in the long run. Of course, if you no longer want something inside of your favorites, you can just right click and then remove from favorites. Or you could just use the new clear option, which will clear both your favorite system icons and your custom icons, and that's the clear history button. If you press clear, now everything is being removed. And that's the basis of the icon window. Now moving on to the next functions inside of Structura here. So to show you these, I'm going to load up a very long structure. I've got this small business organization here, which I'm going to load up. It's quite long. But let's say, for example, you do have a really long structure like this and you want to be able to visualize it better. You've got the option up here with this slider to resize what you see inside of this window. So the lowest size goes down to number 10 and the highest size goes up to 24. And you can kind of choose that based on what you want it to be. Next up in Structura, we've got the structure editor. So this is a text editor for our structure. If we click this, you can now see that we've got our exact same structure, but in a text format. Now, if we drop down this little box up at the top here, this will show us how this works. So when you're defining main folders, you can define them either by using these brackets, which is your square brackets. You can define them inside of arrows like this, or you can define them with inverse arrows like this. When it comes to defining your subfolders, you've got many options to do that as well. You could define subfolders like this. So let's say you have administration and you wanted to add something inside of administration, you would add a new line and then you would put a forward slash and then you would type out what you want to go inside of there. Or another way you can do it, and the most easy way to do it, is by using these arrows that you can see here. So these are hierarchical arrows and they basically tell you what's happening with your structure. To give us a better visual understanding of what's happening here, I'm going to toggle this button, press cancel, load my window back up, and now you can see it's automatically updated for me. So you can see here for each of the items inside of my structure, it has broken them down into what's happening. So first we've got the administration folder, and then we've got all the folders inside of it. And you can see this is represented by the arrows that we have. So for administration, we've got one arrow, and that shows that it's inside of the main folder, which is my business. And then under administration, we've got contracts, legal, insurance, and licenses, which are represented by two arrows in front of each. Of course, for example, if we wanted to put licenses inside of insurance, we just select it, and this is where our other functions come in. If we press this little shortcuts button up at the top here, you can see there's some shortcuts for these things. So using the main and probably the most useful shortcut you'll ever use inside of Structura, that's Control plus any of the number keys. So if I just press Control 3 while this is selected, that will put it to 3 arrows. And then what we can do now is you can press Build Structure, and now licenses has been put inside of insurance. Furthermore, with the text editor, we've got some other more powerful functions. That's these buttons down here, but they also have their own keyboard shortcuts. So if you press Convert All to Main, this will do exactly what you expect it to do. Turn them all into main folders. So now we press Build Structure, and they've all become main folders. Another thing you can do here is you can convert your selections to main folders and your selections to subfolders. So if I select all of these and then I press Selection to Sub, they now become subfolders. If I press Selection to Main, they just become main folders. But to make life much quicker and much easier, instead of using these, you can just use keyboard shortcuts. So we've got Control S to convert them to subfolders, and then Control M to convert them to main folders. And of course, the nuclear button down here does exactly what you'd expect it to do. If you press clear, this just clears the entire structure. And then the next main function we've got inside of the structure editor here is being able to load in our icons. So you can see we've got our icons set here in our folders, but when we go in the structure editor, we're not able to see them. So to be able to see them, we need to toggle this little button up here. If we toggle this, you can now see that it adds text for our icons. And this is not only a way to preserve your icons when you're editing things inside of the text editor, but it's also a way to be able to edit your icons. So if you really wanted to, you could change this path to something else for a different icon. And then the final but more fun function inside of the structure editor, that's this little color palette up here. This just allows you to change the background color of your main workspace here. This is kind of there as a fun little thing for you to be able to define the workspace that you're working in. And that's the basis of the structure editor. Now moving on to the next function inside of Structura. And that's the thing we kind of glossed over a little bit here. That's the saved structures list. So firstly, inside of the saved structures list, if you want to reorder items, all you have to do, just grab it and drag it. And similarly, the same goes for the folders inside of your folder structure. If you want to move folders, you can grab them and drag them. So if I want to put tax records inside of expenses, I would just grab it and drag it to expenses. And now it goes inside of there. Next up in our Save Structures list, you've got a right-click menu for here too, which gives you all of your basic functions, such as being able to load a structure, being able to rename a structure, being able to duplicate structures, and being able to delete them. Now if we click this little hamburger menu up in the top right of our structure management window here, we've got a few tiny little functions. So we've got the ability to import and export structures as .struct files. So if I click Export Structure here, this will now give us the Export Structure window. When this pops up, this will now ask us if we want to export our current structure, which is the one that we've got loaded in here, or our selected save structure, which is the Visual Studio app at the top. So we're just going to export our current structure, and you can see here it's named it appropriately, current structure.struct. So we're going to rename this to Structure Demo, and then press Save, and it's been exported, and just click OK. And then as you would expect, you press Import Structure, select it, import it, and now it's imported for you. And you can see it's over here in our list. And for a little bit more customization, you've also got the option to move this structure management window between the left and right sides of the app. So if you click under here and press position left, that of course just positions it to the left. And now moving on to one of the most powerful features inside of Structura, This is the ability to apply your structure across multiple locations. So if we activate this little multi-location button over here, this will now tell us to click Browse to select multiple locations. So now that that's active, if we click Browse, we're now going to get the multi-location window. Over here, you can do exactly what you would expect to be able to do, and that's add multiple locations to your list. So if I go to Add Location, I can now add a location. So I'm going to select this More Folderness folder here. That's now been selected. If we press Add Location again, we can then select a different folder. So select this folder, and you can make the list, as long as you want to. But let's say you like this list and you don't want to have to do it all over again later. This is where the ability to save your lists as presets comes in. So if we just press the Save button, we can now give this a name and save it to our presets. So I'm going to call this Demo, press Rename, and now that's been saved to our presets. So I'm just going to clear all my locations here. They've been cleared. Now we can select anything from our list here. I'm going to actually select this multi-location preset, and then I'm going to press Load. So now I've got a bunch of folders here, and once we're ready to go, we can click OK. And now you can see it's marked us down as 4 locations selected. So to show this happening in real time, I'm just going to press the Create Structure button, and now you can see it's going to ask us, do you want to create this folder structure in 4 locations? It'll tell you how many total folders are in the structure, how many locations you have selected, and how many it's going to create in total, which is 100 folders. And then the creation mode, which is set to add down here. So just press Create All, and now they've been created. And you can see that if we go inside of our folders, we've got the exact same folder structure in all of these. But now that I've mentioned this little add mode, you're probably wondering, well, what's this down here for? It's pretty much what I would expect. And it is, until it isn't. So if we click this little add mode toggle, we've got both add mode and replace mode. So to show you how these work, I'm going to create my structure again. I'm going to create my structure again. I'm going to create it again. And now we've got pretty much 4 of the same structure across all of these locations. So if I show you what's happening here, we've now got my business 1, my business 2, my business 3. So we've got 4 of the same structure. And that's how add mode works. It will just keep creating the same structure and renaming it appropriately. But if we use replace mode instead of add mode, this is going to do exactly what it tells you it will do. It's going to replace every single folder inside of our locations. So if we press create structure, it's now going to tell you pretty much the exact same thing. But it's also going to tell you that you're in the creation mode replace. So press create all. It's also now going to warn you that you're inside of replace mode, and then tell you that it's going to delete all of the existing folders into location. So if we press yes, 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 and yes, this has worked for all 4 locations. And you can now see that the only folder we have inside of there is my business, because it's replaced everything else we had inside of that. That's pretty much a basic rundown of Structura. I mean, I'm sure you can figure out what this little box here does if you just give it a name and then press Save Structure. It just does exactly what it says. It saves that to your list. So if you like the app, go give it a try. There is a 60-day free trial available.